Hello, this is Curtis, and you're watching the Playing with Art show. Today we're going to talk about making a canvas, box canvas from recycled materials, this is actually a purchased wooden canvas. So we're going to make something like this, but using recycled materials. Here's a preview of what the project looks like towards the end. It's a structure made out of cardboard, and then it's surfaced with strips of grocery bag paper and glue to soften the edges.
Warning, blades in use. Use at your own risk.
I start out with recycled cardboard, and what I do is I take used boxes and cut those into flat panels. To get a straight edge, I use a triangle to make sure I get a perfect 90-degree corner. Here I'm using the blade to just make a real light mark on the cardboard, but it's really important when you're cutting to use a metal ruler that has a cork backing so that it doesn't slide on you. I then measure out the size that I want the canvas to be. In this case, I'm making this 8 inches square. I use the triangle on all sides to make sure that all corners are 90 degrees. I then use the first square that I cut as a guide to make a second square. This is so it can be a double layered, more strong surface. I then add a layer of glue, first drizzling it on and then using a strip of cardboard to smooth it out into a nice thin coat. The key thing with cardboard is you want to have a real thin coat of glue so that the two paper surfaces bond quickly. A key thing when you're putting the pieces together is to alternate the direction of the corrugation. So they're going in two different directions. That will make the surface stronger and also help prevent it from warping. I then cut out strips of cardboard and I use the width of the ruler. That helps to make sure that they're all exactly the same height. And I've got a few different metal rulers at different heights so that I can make strips of cardboard easily at different heights. In regards to measuring the length, I found to get it most accurate, it's better to actually just hold the strip up against the surface and use that as a guide instead of measuring with a ruler. I use the triangle again as a guide to get a 90-degree angle. I line it up to the canvas to make sure that I cut it to the right size. I then use the first strip as a guide to measure two more strips of the exact same length, and I'm going to use this as a 3-layered beam glued together. I double check to make sure all 3 pieces fit together and that they fit the side of the canvas I'm going to glue them to. I then glue the 3 strips of cardboard together using a very thin layer of glue. Again, I spread it out using a piece of cardboard to make sure it's real thin so the pieces bond together quickly. I'm real careful to hold them together and push down edgewise to make sure they're all level and exactly at the same height. Once I have all 3 together, I then put glue along the edge and then use cardboard to smooth it out to make it a really thin layer and then press that into place on the canvas. I usually hold that in place for about 30 seconds to make sure that it bonds really well before going on to the next piece. I then continue this process for all sides of the canvas and also include a couple middle beams through the center to make it extra strong. I then use strips of grocery bag paper and put a thin layer of glue, again using the thin piece of cardboard to spread it out really thin and cover all surfaces starting with the edges. This process isn't necessarily necessary. You could actually start with collage paper and start working on a mixed media canvas at this point, but I'm choosing here to start with a layer of grocery bag, which makes the corners a little bit softer. The corners can be a little tricky. What I do here is I overlay this strip of paper and tear along one edge and then fold it on either side. I let the canvas sit and dry on a flat surface overnight to make sure all the moisture is out before I add any more layers. The more moisture that's in cardboard, the more likely it's going to warp, so it's always good to let layers dry completely before adding the next. Another option is to coat the entire canvas in a layer of gel medium and letting that dry completely, and that'll create a moisture barrier and help prevent warping.